Greetings and welcome to another episode of Stabloid News, where we run down 17 facts about American Horror Story 1984. If you haven't watched the full season yet, then I recommend you checking out another video, or watch it immediately and then come back here. Please make sure you like and subscribe now to cop wicked lists and horror movie news from an infomaniac. So this is officially your spoiler warning. In American Horror Story 1984, there are many moments that pay homage to some of our favorite horror movies from over the years. For example, when Mr. Jingle escapes from the asylum, it's very reminiscent of when Michael Myers escapes from the mental hospital, as you can see. Brooke, as one of the final girls on 1984, gets chased by Mr. Jingles in the season premiere in a fashion that mimics what happened to Laurie Strode in the original of Halloween. Many times throughout the series, the term final girl is mentioned. This is of course a classic horror trope that a lot of people believe began with Laurie Strode, but she was just one of many women from the 70s horrors that made this a staple of all slashers. Although they mention it lots between 1984 and 1989 in the show, the term was actually coined by Carol J. Clover in her book Men, Women and Chainsaws, Gender in the Modern Horror Film, from 1992. Or maybe she just stole it. In episode 8, Bobby launches out of the water, grabbing Benji from the boat. This is exactly the same as Jason Voorhees as a child in the ending of the original Friday the 13th, as well as Camp Redwood is clearly AHS's version of the classic Camp Crystal Lake. Jonas's name is actually a sneaky anagram because Jonas Shivor, when rearranged, becomes Jason Voorhees. Or you could also make Sonia Ho Servo, which sounds like a place hookers go to get their oil changed. Does that joke even work outside of Australia? What do you call a service station where you are? When Richard Ramirez is brought back to life, his theme whispers Satan, 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 along with Mr. Jingle's keys. Sounds awfully similar to Jason's theme from Friday the 13th franchise. Maybe a stretch, but when Brooke escapes from being chased and returns, she shows up back at the cabin drenched in mud, which is really reminiscent of the scene in Carrie where she gets drenched in pig's blood at the prom. I Know What You Did Last Summer is kinda referenced by the hitting a stranger and not wanting to call the police or ambulance. Plus, the way Mr. Jingles is dressed is oh so similar to the Fisherman Killer, but there is loads of movies with cloaked figures. The crazy-looking local who gives them warning is a famous movie trope most widely known to start in 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. In AHS, a gas station worker, played by Don Swayze, brother of Patrick Swayze. Maybe it wasn't a gas station, maybe it was a roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
He warns the cast of dangers ahead. This is also referenced in so many other horror movies, like Friday the 13th and Pet Sematary, to name a couple. Got more? Let us know below in the comments, if you dare.
You want to watch out for that road.
When we head into the future, it is revealed that Margaret has been buying up killer locations from history for tourism money. Included is John Wayne Gacy's house, the Lizzie Borden house, the Manson family squatter property at Spahn Ranch. But sadly she missed out on Ed Gein's farm. She says Gein the first time, but Gain the second time. Gains. Whatever it is, she missed out because it was disrespectful to the lives lost, as mentioned by the locals. Donna Chambers mentions in an episode that she has spoken to and studied Ted Bundy, even claiming to have made him confess to 2 new murders while being interviewed. She also quotes, "If you ask me, all the murders are because of all the pornography and objectification of women in our culture." Then she says, "That's what Ted Bundy said." Video Shack is a created franchise like Blockbuster, and it makes reference to Be Kind Rewind, saying, "That's cool, you should put that on a sign." Either a reference to the Jack Black movie, the same name, or maybe quotes used in video stores in the 90s. I'm not really sure about this, but if you know, let me know. As well as Bundy, Donna, the fake nurse Rita, claims to have studied John Wayne Gacy, William Bonin, the Freeway Killer, Patrick Kearney, the Trash Bag Killer, and Robert Hansen, the Butcher Baker. This is all very similar to the real-life investigations and interviews by FBI's profiling unit and documented in the book Mindhunter, inside the FBI's elite serial crime unit. That was written by John Douglas and Mark Olshaker. These recounts were also the inspiration behind the popular Netflix series Mindhunter, which changes a few names but essentially dives into the minds of the serial killers. As regulars to the American Horror Story series, Emma Roberts and Billie Lourd also starred in the great yet cancelled Scream Queens. It is very coincidental that the original concept for season 2 of Scream Queens was actually supposed to be based around the summer camp. But they opted for a different setting. Also, the imagery of Emma Roberts at her wedding covered in blood is one to take note of, as it appears in both series. A nice little laugh for hardcore fans is when Zinger tells everyone in episode 1 that he met Montana when she rear-ended him with her car. This is a sneaky callback to the finale of season 8, Apocalypse, when Billie Lourd's character Mallory runs over Cody Fern's character Langdon with a car and then proceeds to rear-end him. When Xavier talks of his porn film, The X-Man Cometh, is clearly a play on words from the AHS Coven's 6th episode, The Axeman Cometh. Then you have Blake telling Xavier, "You are as dumb as you are pretty, and you are very pretty." This is exactly what Romana Royal said to Donovan in season 5, Hotel. One of the new leads, Gus Kenworthy, plays Chet Clancy. Gus is an Olympic skier in real life, winning a silver medal in men's slopestyle at the 2014 Winter Olympics. AHS loosely references this at a few points during episode 1. First, when they jump in the van to head to camp, one of his mates comments about how the 1984 Olympics is a shit show. And the camera lingers a little long on Chet's face. Also, it is later detailed that Chet, who takes a lot of pride in keeping himself very athletic, was disqualified from the Olympics for using drugs. Which isn't true in real life, but a funny nod at least. The beginning acrobatics scene was a direct ripoff of a 1985 film, Perfect, starring Jamie Lee Curtis and John Travolta. So much thrust. Ooh, so much thrust. In a scene in episode 3, the kids dressed as Mr. Jingles are speaking and one utters, "Dude, what's your damage?" Which is a phrase spoken by Winona Ryder in the movie Heathers from 1989. Where's the beef?
I love this one.
The Wendy's commercial is playing on a TV in episode 2, and the boys show how catchy its marketing campaign was back then. Then there's the spike pit that the two fall into, just like the ones from Rambo First Blood, which explains why they know so much about what they are, because the movie was released in 1982. Episode 5 is titled Red Dawn after the hit movie the same name that was actually released in, you guessed it, 1984, baby. Episode 3 is called Slash Dance, which obviously a play on the 80s classic Flashdance, much like this channel's name is a play on Tabloid News. As Brooke heals in the hotel room, we see the first episode of Doogie Howser has begun to air. This is a classic show featuring a young Neil Patrick Harris, which aired for the first time in 1989. So much pop culture, so much! Speaking of this, leads into the next fact. Actor Mitch Pileggi played a role in the season premiere as an executive at the mental institute that Mr. Jingles is being held, or was being held. He didn't do a lot except tell Dr. Hopper how Mr. Jingles escaped. This kind of ties into the season 11 episode of X-Files when they explored the past of Mitch Pileggi's character Skinner. He spent several years serving in the war where he met a man who had been exposed to experimental gas and started to have delusions that twisted him into a killer who cut off his victims' ears and wore them as a necklace. Sound familiar? The worlds of American Horror Story all intertwine and give us sneaky little Easter eggs along the way. There is a gas station featured in 1984 that appears to be exactly the same as the one that appeared in Season 8's American Horror Story Apocalypse. In Episode 1, fake nurse Rita, Donna, says that she was an ex-employee at a hospital in Hawthorne. This is a nod to where majority of AHS Apocalypse's plot is based. The Hawthorne School for Exceptional Young Men. In the season Freak Show, Pepper the Pinhead was accused of cutting the ears off her sister's child. It was shown later that it was actually her brother-in-law that was guilty of doing this. But could this be tied to Mr. Jingles in some way? Perhaps? As we mentioned earlier, when Margaret was buying horror real estate, she also acquired Briarcliff Manor, the same psychiatric hospital that was the main setting for AHS Asylum. Also, one of my favorite seasons, by the way. Bonus fact! One of the highlights of 1984 season was the epic soundtrack. Among the 51 songs used throughout the series, there were some classics from Alice Cooper, Creedence Clearwater, Duran Duran, Billy Idol, Def Leppard, and of course, Stevie Nicks, who played roles in AHS Coven and Apocalypse. On a side note, Alice Cooper also wrote a song for Friday the 13th 6, Jason Lives, called He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask. And the movie also featured other songs from the shock rocker called Hard Rock Summer and Teenage Frankenstein. In the second episode, when Jonas asks, "Am I a ghost?" Margaret replies, "Who am I? Dan Aykroyd?" I don't feel I need to explain this, but he was the lead actor in the Ghostbusters, a 1984 classic. Ain't seen it? Leave right now and watch it. I feel dirty even facting you. It is also used as an Easter egg when Montana murders a police officer and then pretends to be overtaken by uttering, "There is no Montana, only Zool." This is a clear reference to Sigourney Weaver's character Dana, who was possessed in the first Ghostbusters. Actor John Carroll Lynch joined AHS Ensemble in 2014's Freak Show, and ever since has only played serial killers. But he looks so nice. He played Twisty the Clown, John Wayne Gacy, and in this, Mr. Jingles. Among the three, 2 were made evil by twisting facts, no pun intended. Also, 2 were evil clowns, and 2 were ghosts that kept reappearing. Did I miss anything? The character Richard Ramirez is based on the real-life killer of the same name, also known as the Night Stalker. He also featured in AHS Hotel as part of the serial killer dinner party events held on All Hallows Eve. Ramirez was a Satanist in real life and killed many people. He was convicted of 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries between his spree in June 1984 through till August 1985. If you would like me to do a list and dig a little deeper about his crimes and life, then let me know in the comments below. Jessica Lange, Evan Peters, Sarah Paulson, Kathy Bates, and Dennis O'Hare are just a few of the cast not to appear in this season of AHS, although there are a few shout-outs and Easter eggs for them to give those hardcore fans little butterflies of appreciation. Amongst the movies returned when Benji is working at Video Shack was Tootsie, which cleverly was a movie AHS alumni Jessica Lange actually won a Golden Globe Award and the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. There are also links to nearly every season of AHS, including Hotel Cortez, featuring Evan Peters, Dennis O'Hare, Kathy Bates, and Sarah Paulson, as well as many, many more. Small but clear nods. Should I do a video about all the tie-ins and timeline of AHS? Let me know, and remember to like and subscribe, because I love horror and just media in general. So, if you are keen, I will keep them coming. Stab yous later, I'm out, and remember, stay wicked.